Congratulations, Tim Tszyu. I see you got through with that appetizer. I got through with mine. I got him out in 3, you got him out in 4. I don't know about you, boy, but I'm still hungry. Send the contract. I'll sign it by tonight. I promise you, I'll come to Australia and give you a good fight. Let's go.
All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy CMB checking in. And guys, that was your boy, one-time Keith Thurman, letting Tim Tszyu know that he is open to the smoke. You guys know Tim Tszyu kind of called out Keith Thurman after his big win this past weekend over the American Joey Spencer in Newcastle, Australia. Now, you could tell Keith Thurman, he was paying close attention to that fight. Yeah, he was scouting. He made that video not only to put Tim Tszyu on notice, but to get the fans talking, get the fans excited for what possibly could be. And I gotta admit, I am excited if this fight, happens to take place. And if you don't know, I'm a big fan of Keith Thurman, and I am so glad that he is back in the sport of boxing. I think he just brings a breath of fresh air to the sport. You guys know he's one of the best trash talkers out there, and he just makes boxing fun, in my opinion. Now, I'm going to say something that some people may disagree with when it comes to Keith Thurman. Looking at the welterweight era, I would say the era of Terrence Bud Crawford and / Errol Spence Jr., skill set wise, I put Keith Thurman at number 2. I thought Terrence Bud Crawford had the best skill set, and I would say Thurman, despite, all the things he went through, I thought he was a close second. Now, I was a bigger fan of Errol Spence Jr. than Thurman, but I thought Thurman had the better skill set. And I really do think he did himself a disservice by not taking that Errol Spence Jr. fight when Errol Spence Jr. was coming up and chasing Thurman. That always bothers me, but I'm still a fan. I got over it. I got over it, guys. And that still is a solid fight if that fight ever takes place. Now, I know most of you know this, but for those who don't know, these two, Tim Tszyu and Keith Thurman, were supposed to fight before. And the reason that he didn't fight is because Keith Thurman got injured in training camp before the fight took place. So I was gutted as a fan. I know he was gutted, and it was going to be his big return to the ring, and it was his first time, I think, fighting at 154, and we never got the fight. So, but we know what happened after that. Tim Tszyu wound up losing his WBO title to the towering Inferno Sebastian Fundora. Then he went on to take that second L to Bakaram Mardazelev, and you guys know he had the big comeback fight this past weekend. So, but at the time when this fight was going to happen, some of you may know this, some of you may not, I actually picked Tim Tszyu to beat Keith Thurman. I know that's going to surprise a lot of people. I picked Tim Tszyu to beat Keith Thurman, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I know some of you guys who watch me know that I'm big on skill sets. I think a fighter should have a damn good skill set, something to fall back on just in case you have to make adjustments. And looking at Keith Thurman and looking at Tim Tszyu at the time, we know, boxing fans know that Keith Thurman had a better skill set than Tim Tszyu. But the reason I picked Tim Tszyu to win the fight, first of all, let me say this about Tim Tszyu. He was coming off of some big wins. He beat guys like Terrell Goucher, Tony Harrison, who was an excellent boxer. He beat Carlos Ocampo. And say what you want about Ocampo. I know he's not a big name, but Ocampo was coming off of a huge winning streak when he ran into Tim Tszyu. Of course, he beat Brian Mendoza, who actually stopped Sebastian Fundora, chopped that tree down. So he had a lot of momentum going there. He was being seen as the next big thing at 154 pounds. He was the boogeyman of 154 pounds. But that's not the reason I picked him. The reason I picked him was because Keith Thurman, as good as he is, we really didn't know how well he would be returning to the ring. You know, he had been out of the ring for you know, he would have been out of the ring for like 2 years going into that fight. He never fought at 154. We didn't know what his punch resistance would be like. We didn't know if he still had his legs. You know, it was just a lot of unanswered questions. So I had my doubts whether or not he'd be able to beat a guy who has been on such this winning streak, and he hadn't done anything in 2 years. So that is the only reason I picked Tim Tszyu at the time. Now, fast forward to today, looking at these two, what they just done in the ring, I would say this fight is probably a 50-50 fight now. And the reason I say that is because Keith Thurman, when he fought Brock Jarvis, he didn't have any rust at all. I thought he looked absolutely magnificent in the fight. You know, I was waiting for the rust to show up, and it didn't show up. Now, Tim Tszyu, who took two L's back to back, he learned from those L's. We saw that in the fight with Joey Spencer. He was a lot more calm. He was a lot more patient. You know, he let the knockout come to him. He didn't chase the knockout. He didn't load up on punches. He took opportunities when they presented themselves. So he is a fighter who has learned from past mistakes. So I would say right now, that fight is a 50-50 fight. And I couldn't tell you who would win that fight right now. I guess I would just have to, you know, look at some more tape and make somewhat of an educated guess. So, you know, I can't give you an answer right now, guys. But maybe you can. Maybe some of you guys have an opinion on that. You know, maybe some of you guys disagree with me. But I'd like to know. Put it in the comment section. Would you be excited for Tim Tszyu versus Keith one-time Thurman? Who do you think win the fight? Do you think there'll be a knockout? You guys let me know how you feel about it in the comment section. It's the CMB. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. And I'm out.